Hello, everyone, and welcome to our vlog for today, discerning divine action versus fearful action. So let's first look at 3 ways that we can discern if we are taking divine action. And the very first one is divine action is direct. It is a direct call from the divine. Make that phone call, pick up the phone, go to the dry cleaner, go over here, make some lemon bars. It is very direct. And that's how we can really start to discern, okay, this is a divinely guided step because it is just right there. Pick up the phone, call this person. Now, it's not going to be forceful. It's not going to hit you in the face. It's just going to be like, you should call your friend Joanne. And you're like, okay, I should call Joanne. And then you take that step. So directness. Number 2, or the second way that we can discern if we are in that divine action is it feels effortless. It doesn't feel like you're really working at it or you have to work hard at it. It is just an effortless way of going about it, because it almost feels like there's this energy, this power that is flowing to you and through you. And there's not a lot of mental energy or a lot of mental stuff happening, because it's just like your body knows what to do. It's just like you are in that moment and you're just like, I know exactly what to do and how to do it without even really understanding how. Maybe, you got to flip a switch. Maybe you got to turn a knob. Maybe you just pick up your phone and make that call. But it's very easy. It's very effortless. There's not a lot of force that you have to exert onto it. It's just like, wow, that was so easy. And the third way that we can discern if we are taking that divine action step is time-based, because it's always present. It's always about the present moment. It's not necessarily about the future. It's okay. Here's your step. So let's say, you're calling that friend Joanne and you get that prompt and you're like, okay, I'm going to go call Joanne right there, that moment. That is what the divine is concerned about. The divine's not concerned about, well, 4 months from now, you and Joanne are going to go on a camping trip. It's just saying, hey, right now, call Joanne. This is the perfect time. This is the perfect, arena in which to do so. You're going to catch her when she's in a great mood. And that's when this conversation is going to start. And, everything's going to speed up. And, I love this beautiful parable from a teacher of mine about divine action. Okay. And it takes all 3 of these into account. So this teacher was having a beautiful gathering at their home. They had beautiful fruits and vegetables and, just a great spread for all the guests that were coming. So, they're coming, and all of a sudden, they kind of take a brief little break, and then someone's like, oh no. And, host comes over, the teacher, and I was like, oh, what's going on? They're like, oh my gosh, look over here. And there was this blotchy stain, and everyone's like, oh my God, where'd that come from? So they're like, oh my God, someone dropped, kind of being like, oh, did someone drop something? Just need to know. And everyone's like, no. And so, and some other people had already left. So they thought, oh, maybe they did, not really knowing, but going over, spraying the result. And I mean, just scrubbing, trying to get this stain up. And it doesn't seem to be happening. And, this teacher is getting a little worried, like, oh man, this is like a rental space. Someone just ruined this carpet. Because, it's a beautiful white carpet. They're like, oh my gosh, like what's going to happen? So then this teacher is like, you know what, let me take a step back. So this teacher takes that step back and is like, Spirit, please don't let me use this for my destruction, but instead for the coming of my peace. And if you are in fear, if you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Because, we can start to notice that. We know how fear feels within our own bodies and our own minds. And we can be like, okay, whoa, Spirit, take that step back. Use that. Spirit, please don't let me use this for my destruction, but instead for the coming of my peace. Then what you're doing is you're giving it over to Spirit. And in so doing, That's where the divine direction comes in, because you are no longer trying to solve the problem on your own, which is actually the first thing we know about a fear-based action is we're trying to make it work. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to fix it on our own based on what? Number two of the fear-based thinking, we're trying to do it from the past. We're trying to do it either from the past or from the future. That's where we're trying to solve it from. Either this worked in the past, so therefore I will do it again, or I'm trying to solve it from a future standpoint of like, well, maybe I'll, this needs to happen, so forth and so on. And so then this teacher took that step back, asked, said what they said, asked for that guidance, like, what would you have me do here? And here comes the directness, the effortlessness, and the, in my opinion, the divine humor of the universe, as well as that present moment. All the person heard was move the plant. And this person's like, what, move the plant? And so, they're kind of looking and they see the plant and they're like, is there more, like thinking, oh my God, is there more underneath this plant? Like, did it seep down into it or is it seeping from the plant? Like, what's going on? So they moved the plant and guess what? The stain moved with it. It wasn't a stain at all. It was the plant. It was just casting a shadow. But notice how it, again, direct the divine was, move the plant, how effortless it is, not having to scrub it and do this and do that, just move the plant. There you go, plant was moved. And then it was all about that present moment. What would you have me do in this now moment? Move the plant, that's it, nothing more, nothing less. And that is the third way that we can begin to discern if we are in fear, is because we try to make things really, really complicated, and it really doesn't need to be, but we complicate it. And there's a great parable that we can also look at for the fear-based thinking. And it's just a very simple scenario. Let's say that you have to make a call at 5 o'clock, okay, in the afternoon, and it's on a Friday because the place that you have to call is closed Saturday and Sunday. So you're already in this like, okay, number one, we're already in the future, like, oh man, I got to make this call. It's got to happen. This is when it has to happen, da, 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 da. And so you have two options. Either you can hand it over to the divine, please take this from me. Don't let me use this for my destruction, but instead for the coming of my peace, please guide me. Guide me today on when I should make this phone call. Or we can like, okay, what time is it? What time is it? What time is it? And constantly looking at the clock, constantly being in anxiety. And maybe we're like, okay, I got to call on my lunch break because, that's the only time I'm going to have. I'm not going to have any downtime. I already know what's going to happen. Well, you're already planning out your day. You're already telling spirit, well, I already know what's going to happen and I'm going to take this action. Why are you taking the action? You're not taking it in the present moment. You're taking it out of fear because of a future event you are afraid might happen or a future occurrence based on perhaps a past occurrence that has happened before. And so you're afraid, you're looking at the clock, you're in this constant anxiety. Well, what kind of person do you think you're going to get on the phone? Do you think you're going to get someone who's going to be super helpful, super nice, and like, ready to help you? Or do you think maybe you might be attracting, because of your own thoughts, your own vibration, maybe someone who's not super helpful? Maybe when you call, everyone's on their lunch break as well. And again, that's when we're just like, divine, I want to hand it over to you. And maybe it's 3:30 in the afternoon and you're like, you know what? I got some time, and you get that divine direction of call them. So you call at 3:30, you get someone super sweet, super nice. They help you, you get everything done, everything squared away, bing, bang, boom. So which one would you rather be in? Do you want to be scared and constantly scrabbling and trying to figure it all out yourself? Or would you rather be carried down a beautiful path where the divine is literally holding your hand and being like, hey, look over there. Why don't you grab that? That's going to be helpful. Okay, great. Hey, look over there. Why don't you grab that? That's going to be helpful. Grab that. And then it's not only are you grabbing it, it's holding it for you. Which one feels better? And that's another big key in discerning. And notice I'm using the word discerning, not judging, not figuring it out. It's just discernment. What feels good? Does it feel good to be anxious and worried and scared the whole time? No. Does it feel better to just kind of, allow things to unfold? Yes, it does. And granted, there are going to be situations where you're just like, I don't know. And because you're in that fear. And that's okay, because again, we can use, spirit. I want to give this over to you. Please don't use this for my destruction, but instead for the coming of my peace. And maybe you say that, and maybe you're still in fear. That's okay, because here is another great step that you can start taking towards divine direction, which is taking a step that brings up your peace and brings down your fear. Because at least you are headed in the direction of peace. And as long as you are headed in that direction, the divine is already there, already bringing forth all the cooperative components in order to assist you. You just have to allow that. And the way you allow that is by focusing your mind, focusing your emotions, focusing your attention on, okay, what feels peaceful here? What's going to bring up my peace and bring down my fear? And then you can take that action as long as, again, it's bringing up your peace, bringing down the fear. Because again, we want to be more open and available for that divine direction. And we can't necessarily be open and available for divine direction when we're in that fear. It doesn't mean that you can't feel fear. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't feel fear. It's just here to illustrate to you that when you are in that fear, it is only your divine guidance system telling you, hey, you're seeing yourself as separate from the divine. That's it. That's all it's showing you. It's just saying, hey, you're choosing to focus your attention and say, this is all on me. I got to figure it all out. It's all up to me, so forth and so on. And where we have, again, the divine saying, I will do this all for you. I will do this all through you. It doesn't mean that you're not going to take action. It doesn't mean that action isn't going to be taken. It just means that the action is going to be done for you and through you. Again, we've all experienced that flow state. And that's all that it really is because why? We're in the flow of the divine. We are in the flow of our true nature. And we are allowing that nature to fully come forward. That's why when we're doing something creative and we lose all track of time and, we are just moving and going. And it doesn't seem like any time is passing because we're in that divine flow. We are in that present moment and we are allowing ourselves to be the empty vessels, the conduits through which the divine can flow through. How many times have you been in a conversation where all of a sudden it's just like you say the right thing or the right thing to say, and then someone will ask you to repeat that and you'd be like, what did I say? I can't remember. Or, you try to say something similar, but it doesn't have that same gravitas, that same energy behind it. You just tapped into divine direction. That's it. And that's at the present moment passed. So that moment is no longer needed. So again, you can't necessarily recall it because it already happened. It happened in the past, and the divine is always in the present moment. And that's where we want to be, is present in the moment to the best of our ability, because that's where the divine direction is. The divine direction is not in the past or the future. That's where fear-based thinking is. That's where fear-based action is taken, in the past or in the future. Well, we want to be present because that's where divine direction is. So I thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. If you're interested in learning more about me or my services, you can, of course, go to my website, awakeningmiracles.org. And if you just want more videos like this, you can always check out my YouTube channel, or if you're already on the YouTube channel, you can just look at all the different videos that I have. So thank you again for joining me. Thank you for being here. I send you all my love, and I'll talk with you soon.